Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. As many of you know, I've been a bit removed from Booktube as I deal with a family issue and some other things, and I'm afraid this coming week I will continue to be working on that issue. But for right now, I'm going to try to make a very short video where I tell a personal story, read a poem aloud, and respond to what I think was a tag. Let me explain. Lucas at Bits of Lit called on Booktube to enter a challenge, a poetry challenge, where booktubers read poems on their own channels and talk about why they like those poems. Lucas specifically tagged, or rather challenged, Brian at Bookish to put one up. And Brian gave a lovely reading of Seamus Heaney's Trout, which seems like a perfect poem for Booktube's favorite fisherman. Although his video is no longer public, I think I was challenged. Or at least, Brian's video inspired me enough that I wanted to put something together. Lucas extended this challenge, threw down the gauntlet, in order to determine who would be the champion of the Booktube Federation, with the right to wear the golden shawl. Well, of course, I just couldn't pass that opportunity up. So today I want to read a poem by Marie Howe, a poet I fell in love with when I was in college. When I say she was a poet I fell in love with, I am almost speaking literally. Marie Howe lived around the corner from my college dorm, and while she was not affiliated with my school, she quite frequently attended poetry-related events on campus, partly because she was close friends with one of the poets with whom I studied. Marie Howe is a stunning woman, tall with incredibly long and blossoming hair, and she wore what I think was hyacinth essential oil or something as a perfume. In general, I hate perfume because it sets off my asthma, but hers did not. My friend Chad, a young poet on campus, and I sometimes walked into a building and both of us would light up. Marie is here. We could tell just from her scent. After a year of sort of getting to know her, Chad and I invited both Marie Howe and our teacher, Lucy Bruck-Broido, to dinner at our dormitory. There was a small kitchen right off a sort of living room with a table, a place students could use. I grew up in the Carolinas, and Chad grew up in Oklahoma. We'd found ourselves far from home for college, and we both missed some of the classic Southern cuisine of our childhoods. Of course, foods from the Carolinas and from Oklahoma are quite different, but we managed to put together a menu. We served these two amazing poets, sweet iced tea, okra and tomatoes over rice, banana pudding, etc. Marie had a bit of everything and was very complimentary. Lucy was not much of an eater and looked at the meal fairly skeptically, choosing to drink coffee instead, but flattering us tremendously with her presence. Of course, while Chad and I both loved Marie Howe's hair and her scent, what we loved most about her was her poetry. I want to read you one from her first book, The Good Thief, a book published just a few months before we served her Southern food. The book was selected for the National Poetry Series by Margaret Atwood, which to me is a huge surprise since Howe's style seems so radically different from Atwood's. I'm not a huge Atwood fan, and her choice of The Good Thief is actually my favorite thing she's ever done. The poem I want to read is called From Nowhere. I think the sea is a useless teacher, pitching and falling no matter the weather, when our lives are rather lakes, unlocking in a constant and bewildering spring. Listen, a day comes when you say what all winter I've been meaning to ask, and a crack booms and echoes where ice had seemed solid, scattering ducks and scaring us half to death. In Vermont, you dreamed from the crown of a hill and across a ravine you saw lights so familiar they might have been ours shining back from the future. And waking, you walked there to the real place, and when you saw only trees, came back bleak with the foreknowledge we have both come to believe in. But this morning, a kind day has descended from nowhere, and making coffee in the usual way, measuring grounds with a wooden spoon, I remembered this is how things happen, cup by cup, familiar gesture after gesture. What else can we know of safety or of fruitfulness? We walk with mincing steps within a thaw as slow as February, wading through currents that surprise us with their sudden warmth. Remember, last week you woke, still whistling for a bird that had miraculously escaped its cage. And look, today a swallow has come to settle behind this rented rain gutter, gripping a twig twice his size in his beak, staggering under its weight, so delicately, so precariously it seems from here, holding all he knows of hope in his mouth. I love these long, gentle lines, somehow expressing both the earth-shattering transformations that we sometimes see before us and the everyday practices, the how things happen cup by cup, that provides us with comfort and even hope, even when we can foresee the changes that are coming. When Howe published The Good Thief, her brother, to whom she was very close, had been diagnosed with AIDS. Very shortly after she came to eat with Chad and me and our teacher Lucy, Marie's brother died. Howe's second book of poetry, What the Living Do, has poems that are quite different and more directly narrative, also beautiful, and perhaps I'll share some from that book sometime in the future. Well, that's it for today. I think I might be back with another poem next week, a very different kind of poem. Thanks for joining me today here on Hannah's Books. See you soon.